This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 107 of the Dressage Radio Show, brought to you with the generous support of Equestrian Collections and Kentucky Performance Products. Hello, I'm Chris Stafford, and on the show this week we're going to hear from German journalist Kim Kraling, who brings us news from the Munich CDI and Hamburg, where she was just last week. And we're also going to hear from Susan Dutta, making her debut on the show after a fantastic competition over there in North Carolina, where she was on the top of the leaderboard at the Capital Classic CDI 3-star. But first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for their support this week of our Horse World Gives Back campaign radiothon, which was broadcast live on Monday between 6 and 9 p.m. Eastern. If you weren't able to listen to the live performance, there is a recording of that podcast available at horseworldgivesback.com. And, of course, we had wonderful support for that radiothon, a 3-hour live radiothon, which I co-hosted with my friends Glenn the Geek and Jamie, and of course Helena. Jennifer was producing that. It was the whole of the crew here at the Horse Radio Network who put together this campaign, which will be an ongoing campaign to raise funds for those in need that have suffered from the terrible disasters of the effects of the extreme weather across the country. And we were raising money that evening as part of this campaign, Horse World Gives Back, and the funds were going to organisations. One was the Red Cross, which very kindly hosted us at the Lexington headquarters, and also through the Kentucky Horse Council to the U.S. Equine Disaster Relief Fund. They will be distributing the funds that were raised via that radiothon that evening, and also the following day, on June 7th, there was an opportunity to purchase through our affiliated retailers, our participating retailers, of which there were over 50, that took part in this and were donating 5% of the sales on that day to those two funds. So a terrific effort all round. I want to thank some of our friends here on the Dressage Radio Show, our co-hosts who called in and donated to this great cause. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to it, as I said, you can go back to horseworldgivesback.com and listen to that broadcast. And a very worthy cause, I hope you will agree, to help so many people in need. And it's something that we will continue here on the Horse Radio Network and have an annual radiothon. So we'll bring you news of that as and when it happens. But for now, we continue with this week's show. We have, as I said, news from Germany, where there were two major competitions this past week, Munich CDI and Hamburg, which this year was international for the first time. And I was able to catch up with my colleague Kim Kraling over in Germany, who follows the sport very, very closely. And this is what she had to say about those two competitions that she attended last week. Well, hello, Kim. I know you had a pretty busy couple of weeks, haven't you, travelling from Munich, and then you went to Hamburg to the Derby. So how are you feeling after all that travelling?
Oh, it was very, very interesting. So I didn't mind the 1,200 kilometers because it's from the very south to the very north of Germany, but it was worth doing it, that's for sure.
You saw the first day of competition at Munich. That's a 5-star competition, isn't it, the CDI there?
Yes, but to be honest, I just saw the 3-star competition because the 5-star only started on Friday, and I have been there on Thursday for the first start of Totilas, so I didn't see the 5-star one. I just saw the 3-star one.
3-star. Well, that was important, as you said, because Totilas and Alexander Matthias Rath was making his debut with Totilas. How did they look as a partnership to you, Kim?
I have seen a few times those both before, but I was really, really astonished. They did a fantastic job. And I know I'm German and I love dressage, but I think you can ask whoever you want, and they really do a very good job, of course. And we have to say that in their first competition, there were quite a few mistakes. There were some uncertainties, or however you would call it, that's for sure. And the 76 points, I think they were perfectly correct. and there's plenty of space for them to go, but they did a very good job. But to be very honest, even better it was in the morning, because I've been there at about 7 o'clock, and then I saw Matthias and Totilas riding at about 8 o'clock, the training session. Wow, that really was great, great, great. And of course, in the arena, first competition, Totilas was a little more powerful, let's say it that way, and Matthias for the first minute seems to be saying, whew, what's that's going on? But they came together very well, and I saw the second day on Friday just on the internet, and it was much better. So I'm now really looking forward to Wiesbaden, where the both of them are going to start on Sunday.
Well, what do you think is the difference in the way Matthias is riding compared to how he was ridden before with Ed Wood?
Cool, that's not easy to say. The first thing is that Totilas looks very different, because I think he has about 50 to 60 kilos less. So he is more elegant and a little less power machine, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a little more, it's a little easier maybe, and not that much of power, and it's a little more elegant. That's the way I would say. And then, of course, you see differences. You see, for instance, maybe in the trot session, he is a little less spectacular. Maybe a little less spectacular. I'm not sure whether that is the right word, but the only one I can say it now. But it's a little easier. All in all, it looks a little easier, maybe with a little bit less power here and there. And you see quite a big difference, for instance, in the pirouettes. In the pirouettes, the both are not that much together as Edward and Totilas has been. You can't see this 9 or 10 point pirouettes. They are now 7 or 8 points, but I think they'll go on and doing fine.
Yes, it's just a very different style of riding, and Matthias is a very gentle, soft rider, isn't he? And he doesn't apply the strength. I think he's just brought this up and riding him lighter, perhaps. Lighter,
that sounds very good to me. Yeah. Thank you for the word I'm looking for.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Kim, anytime. Don't ask me to help you out with your, any other language right now, but certainly
of course, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but what we could see is, for instance, in the walk, Totilas wasn't relaxed in the walk. We can say it that way. So maybe they have to have some more experience, some more partnership in the test, so that he really gets relaxed in walk and gets more than 6 or 7 in the walk. But you see, for the first time, I think it was marvelous, and they did a very good job. And you could see a very big difference from the first to the second day in the arena, and I think that's an optimistic way to do.
Yeah. Do you think Matthias is getting used to the pressure of riding him and the public attention, the media attention, because that was quite overwhelming for him for a while, wasn't it?
To be very honest, I have no idea how this little guy I would like to say, he's 26 years old, and he seems to be so relaxed with everybody of us. I can't believe it. After his very first start with this horse, we had a press conference, and after the press conference, Matthias had individual interviews for 4 hours.
Oh.
He was smiling, he was relaxed, he was drinking a little beer maybe, he was talking in German, in English, whatever you would like to know, he would answer. I have no idea how he could do it that way, but he seems to me absolutely relaxed, fantastic. Of course, you could see his tension riding in the arena. That's something different. But before and after, he is in a good mood and very, very good. He must have a very good recipe to be so.
To be able to relax, that's wonderful. Well, good for him. So what else did you see while you were there in Munich? Huberta Schmidt?
No. Huberta Schmidt was riding in Hamburg.
In Hamburg, of course. You went down there for the Derby, didn't you?
Yes, for the Dressage Derby, that's it.
How did that go?
It was very exciting, very exciting. It was for the first year international, and there were, as nearly every year, some discussions because the people used to change horses for the final. In the final, there are 3 persons changing their horses. But, of course, if you would have a very sensitive horse or a very, let's say, old horse, or you were able to change a horse, to take another rider's horse or something like that if you didn't want to take your own horse for the final. Because those final horses have to do 3 times the same test with 3 different riders. But this has changed the last 2 years. I'm sorry. And now you have to take the horse, exactly that horse, with which you have qualified. And that was the point of discussion, because Hubertus Schmidt, for instance, won the Grand Prix. But with a horse he has himself for 9 or 10 weeks now, and which is not very experienced. And he said he didn't want to stress the horse and didn't want to do the final with the changing of the horses. And so he withdrew. And the next one was Andreas Helgstrand. He also withdrew for the final. And then they not only withdraw for the final, but they are also disqualified for the Grand Prix. So Hubertus Schmidt doesn't exist on Hamburg's results anymore, as does Andreas Helgstrand. They are both disqualified and had to go home. So next was Annabel Balkenhol. Of course, we know her from the World Equestrian Games with Dablino. She was not sitting on Dablino, but on her second horse, Rubens Royal. And she said, of course, I started here at the Dressage Derby because I wanted to be in the final with exactly that horse, and she was the first for the final then. Next one was Kathleen Keller, a very experienced 21-year-old daughter of Dolf Dietram Keller. He used to be a national coach for the young riders here in Germany. And his daughter is very experienced, has done championships as a junior, and now had a horse which is 14 years old called Wonder, but very nervous. And he was really a difficulty in the final. Wow, that was interesting. And then on the next place, we had Todd Fletcher from the USA, but he also withdrew. So then we had 2 people on the 6th place, which were Lillian Jespen from Norway, 23 years old, and well-known Günther Seidel from USA. And they both wanted to do the final. So what had been done? They threw a coin, and the young Norwegian Lillian Jespen won, so Günther Seidel couldn't do it, and he was very sad about that because he really looked forward to be part of the final. But so we had a 3-lady final, and that was absolutely fantastic. They did such a fantastic job, and it was very, very interesting. And the crowd in Hamburg was absolutely fascinated.
We should mention, of course, that Günther Seidel, for our listeners over here, Kim, will know that he had that awful accident where he broke his pelvis last year, falling from U2 just after they arrived at Klaus Balkenholz in Germany for training last year. So it took him a while to recover from that, and obviously happy to be back in the saddle and competing. So a good start for him. I think he's going to do some more shows in Europe.
Yes. And I saw him riding several times in Hamburg, and it looked, as we know him, really, really nice. Very good.
Well, that's great. And does anybody else impress you at all? Did you see Todd Fletcher with Otto?
No, I'm sorry, because the qualification was on Thursday, and that was the day when I was in Munich.
He was in Munich.
So I can't really say something about that, but I was really impressed from the young ladies in the final, because if you have seen Wonder, the 14-year-old, who was really, really in a nervous temper, because the crowd in Hamburg, was huge. And then the young Lillian Jespen, how she did that job on this very excited horse, that was really nice to see. Also, it was very nice to see Kathleen Keller, 21 years old, who sat on Rubens Royal from Annabelle Walkenhol and had, I think, 72% with a totally new horse. I think that's fantastic for Kathleen Keller, and it's fantastic, in my opinion, for Annabelle, because she obviously did a very good job when her horse is so easily ridden by another rider. So I think it really was a fantastic final, and the crowd was clapping all the time.
Oh, well, of course, enthusiastic audiences in Germany, but two big competitions clashing on the same weekend there, so hard to divide your time between the two. It just keeps going then. What next for you, Kim?
Next for me is starting on Friday, the Wiesbaden Pfingstturnier, and it's the 75th, so it's going to be a very big show. We have a little problem because 1 week after that, we already have the German championships. And, you know, if you have one top horse, you're surely not going 3-4 days before to Wiesbaden if you then have to do the German championship. But we have Totilas in Wiesbaden again. We have Isabel Wert, who is doing the freestyle with Satchmo. And, yes, we have Laura Bechtolzheimer. So that's for the first time a meeting between Totilas and the world champion and Laura's Mistral Heures, the Vize. So I think it's going to be very interesting.
I am so envious of you, Kim.
Okay. That's okay for me.
I'm very jealous. You get to see all of those. That's wonderful. What a competition. I hope you'll come back and report again for us from Europe in a couple of weeks' time. How would that be? If you just seem to go from one competition to another, and I don't think anybody could give us a better report than you, because you're watching them all of the time.
Nearly all, and of course I'd love to come back, sure.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kim. I really appreciate it. We'll speak again soon.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Well, if you were tuned in last week to the Dressage Radio Show, you'll know that I've started promoting or encouraging young reporters to bring their reports onto the show here from around the country. So if you are under 20 years of age and think you could report here, broadcast on the Dressage Radio Show, tell the world about your local show. Maybe it's a GMO, if it's the US Dressage Federation's group membership organization around the country, or indeed around the world. We have listeners, as you will know, all over the world. So we'd love to hear from you. If you're under 20 years of age, give me a call or email me at chris@horseradionetwork.com. You can find out all the contact information on our website, of course. I would love to hear from you. We will be auditioning for those reports from anywhere in the world if you'd like to promote your event or your show, because it could be obviously a combined training association organization as well as dressage. But anything that involves dressage, we would love to hear from you. Well, before we hear from our next guest this week, I want to remind you about one of our sponsors here on the Dressage Radio Show who make this show possible each week. And every time you shop at Equestrian Collections, you can earn points for yourself and your riding organisation of your choice. This is Equestrian Collections' way of rewarding its valued customers and supporting the equestrian community. For every $1 you spend at Equestrian Collections, you will earn 1 point. And each time you accumulate 500 points, you'll receive a $25 rewards gift certificate, redeemable, of course, at Equestrian Collections. And you can collect rewards for your horse too. For your horse, you can celebrate his special birthday with a $10 rewards certificate emailed to you during the month of your horse's birthday, and of course redeemable at Equestrian Collections. And you can find all your favourite dressage brands like Rumpf International, Keritz, Fitz and Good Rider at equestriancollections.com, which has everything dressage for both horse and rider. So check them all out at equestriancollections.com. And we're delighted that Equestrian Collections was one of the participating retailers of the horseworldgivesback.com. Well, we're coming now to my second guest this week, Susan Dutta. She had a fantastic weekend at the Capital Classic CDI 3-star, that is, in North Carolina last week, and I was able to catch up with Susan right after the competition and before she headed north for the summer. Well, Susan, you've had a wonderful weekend there at the Rally Capital Dressage Classic CDI 3-star over in North Carolina. Congratulations. What a wonderful weekend.
Thank you very much, Chris.
And that kind of, it sounds like on paper it went according to plan. When you win 2 classes, it doesn't get any better than that, does it?
No, it doesn't get any better. It's very satisfying when you have a good horse and he goes well and he wins 2 classes. That makes a lot of things fall in place.
Well, it certainly does that. You won the Grand Prix and then, of course, the freestyle. And I'm catching you as you finish there this weekend on your way north to New York for the summer. So we'll talk a little bit about your bases and the rest of your horses. But first of all, I'd like to hear a little bit more about how that went. You had two horses in the ribbons there, Golden Choice and Currency. And Currency, as I said, you won 2 classes with him. And with Golden Choice, you got a 6th, a 7th, and a 4th. So up there in the ribbons with him too.
Yeah. These are both 2 horses that I've had. Currency I've had since he's 3, and Golden Choice since she's 4. So these are like my kids, and we're partners. It's really fun now. I feel like now I'm getting to reap the benefit of all the years of training and building and strengthening, and they're just Currency is just now starting to shine. It's maybe his 5th, 6th, 7th Grand Prix. He has not done so many, and he's starting now to come into his own. It's still not, my rides are still not clean. He's still a bit green. I'm making some mistakes. He's making some mistakes, but he has incredible highlights, and I think he has a really promising future. This weekend he showed me that he can stay really focused and listening, and he had way more expression in his gaits. I feel like I kept saying to my people around here, I just need some mileage. I just need some time, and I feel like it's really starting to grow in the right way. And Golden Choice, this is a horse that I have done Grand Prix on, that I dropped down to the small tour this year, and because of the Pan Am trials. And maybe she hasn't done as well as I've wanted to, but she's really gotten nice to ride, and she's always a delight and a very steady horse for me, and I look forward to bumping her back up to the Grand Prix level.
You mentioned that you've had them since they were youngsters. Where did you find them, and what breeding? Tell us about their breeding and how you found them.
Okay, so they're both great stories. Golden Choice was bought in the PSI auction in 2003. I was training with Klaus Bachenhall at the time in Germany, and so he helped me find her. And I was lucky enough to be able to get her in the auction. And then Currency was like 2.5 and running in the field, and my husband's business partner, Guido Clate, saw him out in the field and called my husband and said, "Hey, I think I saw Susie's next horse." So the both of them brought the horse into the indoor. I think my trainer at the time, Denny Cowan, was with them, and they all 3 looked at him and he said, "That's the one." So they bought him, and then he was broke and ridden for a while by Guido's wife, Britta Clate, and then at 3.5 they sent him over to me. And the rest is, history.
It's part of the journey now, isn't it?
It is a journey. It is a journey. And that's, the one thing that my husband knew going into this whole thing is that he could always afford to buy me young horses, but he couldn't afford to buy trained horses. So early on in my career, he sent me to Europe to learn how to make a horse. We took this horse, Gumshoes, that was an ex-jumper, a 6-year-old, and I went there and I learned to, train it from its first flying change to piaffe passage, the whole thing, and I had that horse for, I think, 8 years in the Grand Prix. So that was my first one, and I don't know what I'm on now. I think I'm on my 12th, 13th Grand Prix horse now, so I think that was a very valuable thing that my husband did for me, is to send me there to learn how to make them, so I always have something to ride. If we buy the good quality young horses, that good brains and the right mechanics, and I do my job, of course, with a lot of guidance and help by all my trainers. But, I'm the one doing the work, making the half halts, teaching them changes on this daily basis. And some days it's not so easy, and some days you think, oh, it's never going to happen. And then all of a sudden you look down the stable aisle and you have 3 Grand Prix horses, and you're like, wow, it worked out, so.
Well,
That's
your husband,
fun.
Tim Dutta, of course, of the Dutta Corporation, who was a guest on the Dressage radio show back earlier this year on episode 99. You can listen to that episode if you haven't caught it yet, and it tells you all about how to fly horses. And you a little bit involved in that business, Susie, or are you too busy with your horses?
Well, I know what's going on in the business, and my husband and I are always talking about who he's moving and what some of the things, logistics of things. But I'll have to say that Tim and his team, Karen and Claire, they are probably in Missy in Florida, that they run that business, and they're the details. I'm sort of the cheerleader. You guys are doing great, and they're always so supportive of me, and they take care of all the stuff that I need. They're even my backup as much as they're his backup. So that's a great operation, the Dutta Corp, I have to say.
Well, very convenient to have your husband in the transport business, that if you did want to take horses back and forth to Europe, you know who to call.
Yeah, he makes it very easy for me.
It's very easy.
He does.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the other horses. You said you can look down the aisle now. You've got 3 Grand Prix horses. How many horses do you have in total, Susie?
In total, I have 5. The other Grand Prix horse I have is Manette DC, and she did well in Florida this year. She took this show off. She had a small, little injury, but and I just decided to give her the weekend off just to be for certain that she was fine. But she'll be back, and I think we're going to Milton, Ontario, so we'll take them all there. All 3 horses will go there. And then I have 2 young horses in Europe at the moment. One 7-year-old that's in training at Jogan Kirschel's, in Christoph Kirschel's place, and then one 5-year-old that's in training with a very good young horse rider over there in Germany. We try to keep, that's how you have future horses, is to buy the young ones and keep them going and training, and eventually you have younger ones. And normally I do them myself, but this year I wanted to concentrate on these 3 Grand Prix horses and keep that my focus, so I decided to leave the young ones in Europe.
Do you have a preference with breed of horse, Susie?
Not really.
No?
No. I guess we just, I like Oldenburgs, I love Curry. He's probably my perfect type of horse if I had to pick one. I love these long legs and, knees. I think that's a really pretty type. But, no, I think a good horse with good gaits and the right size for me and the right temperament and mechanics, I'll take it. I've never turned a horse away because of its breeding or color, or a good horse to me is a good horse.
So is Curry the barn name for currency, I'm guessing?
Yes, that's right. It's suitable for an Indian, because Tim and his Indian, heritage, so he named him Curry.
That was easy, yes.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your operation, Susie. You've got 5 horses right now, and you're making your way north via Raleigh from your base in Wellington up to New York, as I mentioned, for the summer. Hopefully it'll be a little bit cooler up there for you for the summer.
Yeah.
So
yeah, just
how do you balance your operation? How does it work?
Well, I have my 3 horses that are on the road with me, and then I have my best friend and a client, Anna Tillman. She's an amateur rider that does the small tour. And then Isabel Liebler is my young rider who actually won the Young Riders. I guess she won all 3 tests this weekend in Raleigh. She's, only 16 years old, first season, and she's really good. So that's kind of exciting. And we, I ride half a day, and then I'm a mom in the other half. And normally I work a lot more, but this year I've really chosen to focus. Another reason why the young horses are in Europe, where I'm trying to focus just a half a day in the stable and, be very serious about the horses. And then half a day as a mom, because I have a 9-year-old son, and he's, that's important to me. I'm trying to train a Grand Prix kid here, and they need, they need their time too. He's riding, and I want to be there while he rides and, go to his lessons and do what he wants to do, half a day, and be a wife and a mother. And that's important too, so just for this few years, that's what my plan is.
Well, you mentioned Isabel Liebler, of course. She was a guest on the show back up in episode 52, that was. So you can go back and listen to Isabel, as you said, a rising star indeed. And she, too, has had a great weekend there in Raleigh, as you said.
Yeah, I'm so proud of her. She's done a really good job, and she was exceptionally good today in the Kerr. So it's pretty fun. It's fun to have a talented kid like that.
Absolutely.
Train.
So you've got something to celebrate then after this show. A big celebratory dinner, I would say. Huh?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be a celebration. They're going to everybody's packing right now, and then we'll definitely celebrate tonight. We're big on celebrating every win. That they all mean something. So
yeah, you can't ever take anyone for granted, can you?
No, we don't. No, exactly. I'm big on that in my stable. I tell the girls that we, it's a journey, and we have fun every day. I have 2 fabulous grooms, Francesca and Verity, and in our stable, my husband's a lot of fun, my son's fun, my clients are great. We really try to enjoy ourselves, because it is a lot of work, and there are a lot of long hours, but we're so lucky. We get to spend these days with people we like and horses we love. So, what could be better? And then win.
And then we're on top of it. So, was it always dressage for you, Susie?
No. I was an eventing rider up until I was done with young riders. So, I've ridden advanced 3-day. I've done young riders, I've done like at Templeton Farm, the real young riders. I didn't do it as a dressage rider. I did it as an event rider. And then I switched once I was done with the once I was out of young riders, I switched to dressage.
What persuaded you to convert?
I got a little bit afraid, and my horses were really just young rider horses, so I decided that it was time for me to sell them. And if I wanted to keep riding for my life, which I knew I wanted to continue riding, I had to choose either, just to be a show jumper or to go to dressage. And I chose the dressage because it was really my love. That was where I thought I excelled more than the jumping. So,
unlike most event riders who can't wait to get past the dressage phase to get onto the cross-country course. Well, you mentioned that you train with Klaus Balkenhol. Who is your trainer in the U.S.?
Right now, I train with Oded Shimoni. He's my main trainer. And then I get help from Robert Dover also. But I've just finished a year in Europe with Rudolf Seilinger. And I've been so lucky with the trainers that I've had. I've been very blessed with that, with Jogan Kerschel, George Taterescu, like Robert, Lars Peterson. I mean, a lot of top people have given me their knowledge, and in that I'm blessed. But right now, Oded is doing a super job. He's a stickler on the basics and relaxation and following. It's not anything special except for the fact he follows it so through to the end, and I think that makes the difference. For me at the moment, that's making a big difference in my whole picture of my riding.
Well, you mentioned Odette there, of course. He also coincidentally does train the US eventing team. It helps them with their dressage as well. So, home to New York now, and for the summer months, what's on the competition schedule? You mentioned Canada, and you've topped the 70. You're into the 70s now with Curry, as you call him. What's the plan now? Do you want to get into those mid-70s by the time you get to Canada? What's the plan, Susie?
I mean, that's really what I'm hoping. Is to be able to push this horse up into the 70s. I mean, he's getting there now. And stay up there. It is a very promising horse, and it is for sure a 70+ horse. I'm just, it takes time, right? And but that's my goal, is to get him built up. I have Milton, Ontario, and then I have Saugerties, and then Gladstone. So over these next 3 shows, I'm hoping to get him as solid as I can into that category. And then we have Devon. And if, in fact, he's going as well as I hope he is, then we'll go to Europe and do some indoor shows.
So that will be the winter circuit for you then instead of Florida?
No, I will just go in the fall, late fall, and do 2 months of shows, maybe 3 shows, 2-3 shows with him. Just enough to get him, because I would like to try for the World Cup, just enough to get him in some of that atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And so, there's nothing better than exactly the situation that you need to be in. He needs that. Takes the atmosphere of the big indoor shows in Europe. You can only get used to them by doing them. So I think that would be the best thing for him. I think it's impossible for me to leave Florida if I did make the World Cup to go a little bit early and do a couple. I'd rather go in the fall where there's really not much going on here and do a couple nice shows and go home and have a nice Florida season. I spent 1 Florida season away, and I told myself I'd never do that again. It's the place to be in the winter.
Well, a complete contrast, of course, from the European indoor scene back to the sunny Florida. When would you aim to go down there then for the winter season?
I think the horses would be there by the end of December.
Right.
Mid-December.
Of course, you've got everything you need down there, and not least of all this, what you have at the moment, but then the plans for this new dressage complex there at Palm Beach. Which,
I know. I mean, it's just looking fabulous for us for horse shows. So, that's the place to be now. Where they're going to have so many horse shows, we're going to have to shake our heads and figure out where to go. So. Wonderful. What a problem.
Yes, what a wonderful problem you have. But for the meantime, Susan, thank you for stopping off on your way to New York to talk to us, and good luck with the rest of the season. And as I said, congratulations on a fabulous weekend there at the Capital Dressage Classic in Raleigh, North Carolina. Safe travels, and come back and see us again soon.
Thank you very much, Chris.
And one of our valued sponsors here on the Dressage Radio Show, and indeed on the Horse Radio Network, is Kentucky Performance Products. They were also one of the participating retailers for our Horse World Gives Back campaign.com. So I want to thank them for all their support here and remind you all that it's that time of year when your horse will be sweating more and needs some help in replenishing fluids. That's where KPP can help you. They offer a solution with Summer Games Electrolyte that's originally created for horses competing at the Olympic Games. This formulation is a combination of minerals similar to the levels typically lost in sweat. And Summer Games is a concentrated electrolyte that contains minimal sugar and supports normal hydration. Plus, it's palatable and easy to feed. So help your horse beat the heat with Summer Games Electrolyte. And you can find out more about this product and all of the other KPP products by visiting their website at kppusa.com. Or you can call 1-800-772-1988 for more information. And to learn more about horse nutrition, you can interact with the KPP experts on their Facebook fan page. Well, our next segment here on the Dressage Radio Show is called Words of Wisdom. You may have heard the last week that we introduced this new segment where I'm bringing you extracts from books and some of the masters in dressage with some words of wisdom. The German poet Novalis said, "Every disease is a musical disorder. Every cure is a musical solution." I find that riding, which depends so much on precision of rhythm, seamless flow of motion and interaction based on emotional awareness, is a musical activity in many ways. While music may well be the most unnecessary necessity of life, it is a great source of pleasure and inspiration to all of us. Particularly from a rider's point of view, we ought to understand that in music the silences are as important as the notes. So it is in riding that the times of introspective passivity and harmony with the horse's action are as important as the times giving the aids. The musical silences are analogous to the rider's promotion of the status quo, and the sounds are analogous to influences for change. So it is that in the art of riding, as in music, there are periods of omission or silences alternating with periods of commission or sounds. Riders who understand this can sensitize their horses to appear as if they read their rider's mind and hasten their eager compliance with their rider's wishes. Riders out of tune with their horses remain out of tune with many other things in life because the musical dimension of riding penetrates to the very center of our character. This extract is taken from Dressage Principles Illuminated by Charles de Comfy and published by Trafalgar Square Publishing in 2002. And that's it for this week's show. And a reminder to the young reporters out there under 20 years of age, email me at chris@horseradionetwork.com if you'd like to report on your local show anywhere in the world. And our show notes, of course, are at dressageradio.com, where you can find all kinds of goodies. You can click on the Audible link for the free trial. You can go shopping at Amazon, and you can download the Hallway Feeds iPhone app, so you can listen to the show on the go, as so many of you do, I know. And don't forget to check out our Facebook fan page. We always love to hear from you there, your comments, questions, and suggestions. We are, of course, on Twitter, Chris E. Stafford and Horse Radio. Don't forget you can reach me, as always. Love to hear from you. Chris@horseradionetwork.com is my email address. Well, that's it. I will be back same time, same place next week, of course. So until then, don't forget to check out all the other shows here on the Horse Radio Network. And as always, thank you for listening.